Welcome, dear listeners, to a peaceful night filled with magic and adventure. Tonight we'll journey to the enchanting kingdom of Eldamar, where young Prince Alaric embarks on a quest to find the golden chalice of wisdom, a treasure that could restore his kingdom's lost glory. As you settle in, picture the ancient castle surrounded by rolling hills and whispering forests. Let the gentle sounds of the night wrap around you like a warm embrace. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let your imagination drift away as we follow Alaric on his magical adventure. Prepare for a calming descent into dreams as we begin the golden chalice of wisdom. In the heart of the kingdom of Eldamar, nestled between rolling hills and ancient forests, stood a castle as old as time itself. Its towering spires reached toward the heavens, casting long shadows over the cobblestone streets below. But within those walls, where once laughter echoed through the grand halls and sunlight danced upon golden tapestries, there now lingered a deep and abiding gloom. The kingdom had fallen into a state of disarray, as if the very essence of its prosperity had withered away like leaves in the autumn wind. Prince Alaric, the youngest of the king's 3 sons, was a curious and adventurous soul, often wandering the castle's many corridors and forgotten rooms. Unlike his elder brothers, who busied themselves with matters of state and war, Alaric found solace in the dusty corners of the library, where ancient tomes and forgotten scrolls whispered secrets of a time long past. It was during one such exploration that he stumbled upon a book, its leather-bound cover cracked with age and its pages yellowed with time. The book, titled The Forgotten Legends of Eldamar, caught his eye with its gilded lettering. Alaric, intrigued, carefully opened the fragile pages, and there, amidst stories of heroes and monsters, he found a passage that spoke of a wondrous artifact, the golden chalice of wisdom. According to the legend, the chalice had been crafted by the gods themselves, forged in the fires of knowledge, and blessed with the power to reveal hidden truths. It was said that the chalice could solve the most ancient riddles, secrets that had been buried for centuries. But the chalice had been lost to time, hidden away in a place where only the worthy could find it. As Alaric read on, his heart quickened. The legend told of a time when the kingdom had flourished under the guidance of the chalice, its rulers wise and just, its people prosperous and happy. But one fateful day, the chalice had vanished, and with it, the kingdom's fortune. Since then, Eldamar had been in decline, its once great empire crumbling into obscurity. Determined to learn more, Alaric sought out the kingdom's oldest sage, a man named Orin, who had lived through the reign of many kings. Orin's hair was white as snow, his face lined with the marks of time, but his eyes sparkled with the wisdom of ages. "Sage Orin," Alaric began, as he approached the elder in his secluded tower. "I have discovered a legend in the old library. It speaks of a golden chalice of wisdom that once guided our kingdom. Do you know of this tale? Oren regarded the young prince with a thoughtful gaze, stroking his long beard. "Ah, the golden chalice," he murmured, his voice as soft as the rustling leaves outside. "It is no mere legend, my prince. The chalice is real, or at least it once was. It was lost long ago, hidden away, by those who feared its power might fall into the wrong hands." "Then it can be found?" Alaric asked, hope rising in his chest. "Perhaps," Oren replied. "But be warned, young prince. The journey to find the chalice is fraught with peril. Many have sought it, but none have returned. The chalice is hidden in a place of great mystery, guarded by forces ancient and powerful. Only one who is pure of heart and strong of mind can hope to claim it." Undeterred by the sage's warning, Alaric pressed on. "I must try, Oren. If there is even a chance that the chalice can restore our kingdom, I cannot stand idly by. I will do whatever it takes to find it." Oren sighed, seeing the determination in the prince's eyes. "Very well," he said. "I will help you, but know this. The path you're about to walk will change you forever. You may uncover truths that you are not ready to face." With that, Oren reached into the folds of his robe and withdrew a small ancient map. Its edges frayed and its ink faded. "This is the last known map to the chalice's resting place," he said, handing it to Alaric. "But it is incomplete. You must rely on your wits and courage to fill in the blanks." Alaric took the map, feeling the weight of his decision settle upon him. He knew that this journey would not be easy, but he also knew that he had no choice. The future of Eldamar depended on it. As he left Oren's tower and made his way back to the castle, the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the kingdom. Alaric looked out at the horizon, where the mountains loomed in the distance. His journey had only just begun, but he felt a stirring within him, a sense of purpose that he had never known before. And so, with the map in hand and the legend of the golden chalice of wisdom guiding his steps, Prince Alaric set forth on a quest that would lead him to the farthest reaches of the kingdom and to the very heart of its ancient mysteries. With the dawn of a new day, Prince Alaric prepared for his journey with a heart full of hope and a mind steeled for the challenges ahead. The castle, once a place of quiet study and contemplation for him, now felt like a cage he was eager to escape. He knew the road would be long and treacherous, but the thought of restoring his kingdom to its former glory filled him with a resolve that could not be shaken. The morning mist clung to the castle walls as Alaric bade farewell to his family. His father, King Arik, a man worn by the burdens of a faltering kingdom, clasped his son's shoulders with a firm grip. "Remember, my son, this journey is not just for you, but for all of Eldamar. May the gods watch over you." His brothers, though skeptical of Alaric's quest, offered words of caution and encouragement. "Stay vigilant," warned his eldest brother, Prince Cedric, a seasoned warrior. "The world beyond these walls is full of dangers you cannot foresee." Alaric nodded solemnly, accepting their advice. With his father's blessing and his brother's words echoing in his mind, he mounted his steed, a noble horse named Bramble, and set forth from the castle gates. The drawbridge creaked and groaned as it lowered, and Alaric took one last glance at the castle before urging Bramble forward into the unknown. The road ahead was long and winding, leading Alaric through dense forests where ancient trees whispered secrets of the past. The map Orin had given him was old and incomplete, with faded lines that hinted at forgotten paths and hidden dangers. Alaric knew he would have to rely on more than just the map to guide him. His journey would require keen instincts and perhaps even a touch of luck. As the day wore on, Alaric found himself deep within the heart of Eldamar's great forest, where the canopy above was so thick that only slivers of sunlight pierced through. It was in this shadowy realm that he encountered the first of many tests. A wise old owl perched upon a gnarled oak tree, its feathers as grey as the mists that clung to the forest floor. The owl's eyes, large and luminous, fixed upon Alaric as he approached. "Who goes there?" the owl hooted, its voice carrying an air of ancient wisdom. "A prince, no doubt, by the looks of you, but what business does a prince have in these woods?" Alaric, though startled by the talking owl, quickly regained his composure. "I am Prince Alaric of Eldamar, on a quest to find the golden chalice of wisdom. My kingdom is in need of its power to restore our land to its former glory." The owl blinked slowly, as if pondering Alaric's words. "The golden chalice, you say? Many have sought it, yet none have returned. What makes you think you are worthy of such a prize?" Alaric felt a pang of doubt, but quickly pushed it aside. "I do not know if I am worthy," he admitted, "but I must try. The fate of my kingdom depends on it." The owl regarded him with what seemed to be approval. "Very well, young prince. I shall offer you guidance, but only if you make me a promise." "What promise do you ask of me?" Alaric inquired, curious yet cautious. "You must share the wisdom of the chalice with your people," the owl replied. "For knowledge is a gift meant to be shared, not hoarded. Swear this, and I will guide you on your way." Alaric, understanding the gravity of the promise, placed a hand over his heart. "I swear it. The wisdom of the chalice will not be kept to myself, but will be used to benefit all of Eldamar." The owl hooted softly in approval. "Then listen well, Prince Alaric. The path you seek lies within the mountains to the north, beyond the forest of echoes. There you will find a labyrinth carved from stone, a maze of riddles and trials. Only those who possess both courage and wisdom may pass through." Alaric nodded, committing the owl's words to memory. "Thank you, wise owl. I will heed your advice." The owl ruffled its feathers and took flight, disappearing into the shadows of the forest. Alaric watched it go, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. He urged Bramble onward, the mountains looming in the distance, their peaks shrouded in clouds. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the landscape, Alaric made camp at the edge of the forest. He sat by the fire, the map spread out before him, tracing the faint lines that would lead him to the labyrinth. The night was quiet, save for the crackling of the fire and the distant hoot of the owl, a reminder that his journey was only just beginning. With a heart full of determination and a mind focused on the challenges ahead, Prince Alaric lay down to rest, the stars above twinkling like distant beacons guiding him on his path. The journey to the golden chalice of wisdom had truly begun, and with it, the hope of a kingdom's restoration. The journey to the mountains was long and arduous, with each passing day bringing new challenges that tested Prince Alaric's resolve. The path grew steeper and more treacherous as he climbed, the air thinning and the temperature dropping. Yet the prince pressed on, driven by the knowledge that his kingdom's fate rested upon his shoulders. By the time he reached the entrance of the labyrinth, the sun was sinking low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the stone walls that loomed before him. The labyrinth was carved into the mountainside, its entrance marked by two towering statues of ancient warriors, their stone faces stern and unyielding. The passage beyond was dark, the air thick with the weight of ages. Alaric dismounted from Bramble and led his horse to a small sheltered grove nearby, where he left him with a reassuring pat on the neck. "Wait for me here, old friend," Alaric whispered. "I will return with the chalice." With that, he turned to face the labyrinth, drawing a deep breath as he steeled himself for what lay ahead. The moment he stepped inside, a chill ran down his spine. The air was cold, the silence oppressive. The walls of the labyrinth were lined with inscriptions, ancient symbols, and texts that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. Alaric could feel the weight of the ages pressing down upon him, as if the very stones were watching his every move. The first riddle awaited him just inside the entrance, etched into a large stone tablet. The words glowed faintly in the dim light. "In darkness I am born, in light I die. What am I?" Alaric paused, considering the riddle. His mind raced, searching for an answer. The labyrinth seemed to hold its breath, waiting for his response. After a moment, he spoke, his voice echoing in the stillness. "A shadow." As the words left his lips, the ground beneath him trembled, and the walls of the labyrinth shifted, opening a new path before him. Alaric's heart pounded in his chest, but he pressed on, knowing that this was only the beginning. The labyrinth twisted and turned, its passages narrow and confining. The walls seemed to move of their own accord, closing off some routes while opening others. Alaric encountered more riddles along the way, each one more challenging than the last. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I? The more you take, the more you leave behind. What am I? With each answer, an echo, footsteps. The labyrinth responded, shifting and changing to reveal the way forward. But it was not only his wit that was tested. The labyrinth also preyed upon his fears and doubts. Whispers filled the air, ghostly voices that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once, echoing through the corridors in a haunting cacophony. "Turn back, Prince Alaric," the voices hissed. "This place is not meant for the likes of you. Leave now, before it is too late." But Alaric was resolute. He knew that the labyrinth was testing him, trying to break his spirit. He pushed the voices aside, focusing only on the task at hand. Each riddle he solved brought him closer to his goal, but the journey was taking its toll. He felt the weight of exhaustion bearing down upon him, his steps growing heavier with each passing hour. Finally, after what felt like days of wandering, Alaric reached a large chamber deep within the heart of the labyrinth. The walls here were smooth and polished, reflecting the faint light that emanated from a single glowing inscription in the center of the floor. This was the final riddle, and Alaric knew that solving it would either lead him to the Chalice or seal his fate within the labyrinth forever. The riddle was simple, yet its meaning profound. I am the beginning of the end, and the end of time and space. I am essential to creation, and I surround every place. What am I? Alaric's brow furrowed as he pondered the words. They seemed to echo through the chamber, bouncing off the walls and reverberating in his mind. The answer eluded him at first, but then, in a moment of clarity, he realized the truth. The answer was not something tangible, but something that existed within everything. "The letter E," he whispered, the realization dawning upon him. The moment the words left his lips, the chamber began to glow with a warm, golden light. The walls of the labyrinth melted away, revealing a path that led to a grand, ornately carved door at the far end of the chamber. Beyond that door, Alaric knew, lay the golden chalice of wisdom. His heart swelled with a mixture of relief and anticipation. He had made it through the labyrinth, but the hardest part of his journey was yet to come. With a deep breath, Alaric stepped forward, ready to face whatever awaited him beyond the door. For beyond that threshold lay not just the chalice, but the ancient forces that guarded it, forces that would test him in ways he had never imagined. The grand door before Prince Alaric was adorned with intricate carvings that depicted scenes of ancient battles, wise kings, and mythical creatures. It radiated an aura of power and mystery, as if it had stood there since the dawn of time, guarding the secrets within. Alaric's hand trembled slightly as he reached for the ornate handle, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew that beyond this door lay the golden chalice of wisdom, but he also knew that it would not be so easily claimed. With a deep breath, Alaric pushed the door open, and it swung inward with a low groan, revealing a vast chamber bathed in a soft golden light. The walls were lined with tapestries that told the story of Eldamar's past, each thread woven with care and ancient magic. At the center of the chamber, upon a raised dais, stood a pedestal of gleaming marble. Resting atop the pedestal was the golden chalice, its surface shimmering with an otherworldly glow. But Alaric's eyes were not drawn solely to the chalice. Standing beside the pedestal, as still and silent as a statue, was the guardian of the chalice, a massive stone golem, its form chiseled from the very bedrock of the mountain. The golem's eyes were dark, empty voids. But as Alaric stepped into the chamber, they began to glow with a fiery light. The ground shook as the golem came to life, its movements slow and deliberate, each step echoing through the chamber like the tolling of a great bell. Alaric knew at once that this was the final trial. The guardian would not let him pass without proving his worth. The golem's gaze fixed upon him, and its voice rumbled like distant thunder, filling the chamber with a deep, resonant sound. "Who dares to claim the golden chalice of wisdom?" the golem demanded, its voice reverberating through the stone walls. "Only those who possess true wisdom may approach." Prince Alaric took a steadying breath, his mind racing as he prepared to answer. "I am Prince Alaric of Eldamar," he replied, his voice firm despite the fear that gnawed at the edges of his resolve. "I seek the chalice not for myself, but to restore my kingdom, which has fallen into darkness and despair. I come with the hope that its wisdom can guide me in bringing light back to my people." The golem tilted its head slightly, as if considering Alaric's words. "Many have come before you, seeking the chalice for their own gain. They have all failed, for they lacked the wisdom required to unlock its power. To claim the chalice, you must answer a riddle, one that has confounded all who have attempted it." The chamber grew silent as the golem's eyes burned brighter, the air thick with anticipation. Alaric's heart pounded in his chest, but he nodded, ready to face whatever challenge the guardian would present. The golem's voice rumbled through the chamber once more. "Here is your riddle, Prince Alaric. It cannot be seen, cannot be felt, cannot be heard, cannot be smelt. It lies behind stars and under hills, and empty holes it fills. It comes first and follows after, ends life, kills laughter. What is it?" Alaric's mind raced as he turned the riddle over in his thoughts. The words seemed to echo in his head, each line unfolding new layers of meaning. He closed his eyes, letting the riddle's imagery wash over him, searching for the answer that lay hidden within its depths. Then, in a moment of clarity, it came to him. The answer was not something tangible, but something that touched every aspect of existence. Something that, in its own way, was the essence of wisdom itself. Darkness, Alaric said softly, opening his eyes. The answer is darkness. The golem stood silent for a long, tense moment, its fiery eyes locked onto Alaric's. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, it bowed its head in acknowledgement. You have answered correctly, Prince Alaric, the golem rumbled, its voice softer now, almost reverent. You have proven your wisdom and your worth. The golden chalice of wisdom is yours to claim. The golem stepped aside, clearing the path to the dais. Alaric approached slowly, his heart swelling with a mixture of relief and awe. As he reached out to take the chalice, its golden surface seemed to pulse with a warm light, as if responding to his touch. The moment his fingers closed around it, Alaric felt a surge of energy, a flood of knowledge and insight that filled his mind with visions of the past, present, and future. The chalice revealed to him the secrets of Eldamar's decline, the mistakes of its rulers, and the path that must be taken to restore the kingdom to its former glory. Alaric saw with new eyes, understanding now the true weight of the responsibility he bore. With the chalice in hand, Alaric turned to the golem, who now stood silent and still once more. Thank you, he said quietly, bowing his head in respect. I will use this wisdom to guide my people and bring the light back to Eldamar. The golem did not respond, but Alaric knew that his words had been heard. With a final glance at the chamber, he made his way back to the entrance, where the mountains awaited, their peaks bathed in the golden light of dawn. His journey was far from over, but he now carried with him the knowledge and wisdom that would guide him through the trials yet to come. As he emerged from the labyrinth and mounted Bramble once more, Alaric looked out over the vast landscape before him. The path ahead was uncertain, but with the golden chalice of wisdom in his grasp, he knew that he could face whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, with a heart full of newfound strength, Prince Alaric set his course for home, ready to unlock the ancient riddles that would save his kingdom from the darkness that threatened to consume it. As Prince Alaric descended from the mountain, the golden chalice of wisdom cradled carefully in his hands, the world around him seemed to shimmer with a new light. The knowledge that the chalice had imparted to him pulsed within his mind, filling him with a clarity he had never known before. Yet, with that knowledge came a deep sense of urgency, for he now understood the true cause of Eldamar's decline and the darkness that had seeped into its very soul. The journey back to the castle was swift, as if the chalice itself guided him homeward, urging him to act quickly. Alaric's heart was heavy with the burden of what he had seen. Visions of the past, of the kingdom's golden age, and of the tragic events that had led to its fall. But most disturbing of all were the glimpses of the curse that now plagued the land. A curse born of anger and sorrow, cast by a powerful sorcerer who had once been a friend to the royal family. As the castle came into view, its spires rising above the treetops like solemn sentinels, Alaric felt a wave of determination wash over him. He would not allow Eldamar to fall into ruin. The Chalice had shown him the way, and he would follow its guidance, no matter the cost. Upon his return, Alaric was greeted with both relief and astonishment. His father, King Auric, met him at the castle gates, his weathered face lighting up with hope as he saw the chalice in his son's hands. "You have done it, my son," the king exclaimed, his voice filled with a rare warmth. "You have found the golden chalice of wisdom." Alaric nodded, his expression serious. "Yes, father, but there is much I must tell you. The chalice has revealed to me the truth of our kingdom's decline, and it is far more grave than we could have imagined." In the great hall, the royal family in the court gathered to hear Alaric's account of his journey. The chalice, now placed on a pedestal in the center of the room, glowed with a soft golden light, casting an ethereal glow over the assembled nobles. Alaric stood before them, his voice steady, as he recounted the visions the chalice had shown him. "Long ago," Alaric began, "our kingdom was prosperous and strong, guided by wise rulers who valued justice and peace. But this golden age was shattered by a single tragic event, a betrayal that led to the death of a great sorcerer's beloved. The sorcerer, driven by grief and anger, cast a curse upon Eldamar, vowing that it would fall into darkness unless his loss was avenged." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the hall as Alaric continued. "The curse has been with us ever since, its effects growing stronger with each passing year. The land withers, our people suffer, and our enemies grow bolder. But the chalice has shown me a way to lift the curse, a path that requires us to confront the past and right the wrongs that were committed." King Auric's face grew pale as he listened, the weight of his ancestors' mistakes pressing down upon him. "What must we do, Alaric?" he asked, his voice heavy with sorrow. "How can we undo this terrible curse?" Alaric stepped forward, his eyes shining with the wisdom the chalice had granted him. "We must find the sorcerer who cast the curse," he said. "He still lives, hidden away in a place of darkness and despair. But he is not beyond redemption. The chalice has shown me that his heart still grieves, and it is through understanding and forgiveness that we may reach him." The hall fell silent as Alaric's words hung in the air, the gravity of the task before them sinking in. The path to lifting the curse was fraught with danger, but it was the only way to save Eldamar. "We must journey to the sorcerer's lair," Alaric continued, his voice resolute. "And we must do so with open hearts, ready to offer him the chance to lift the curse and restore peace to our kingdom. This is the only way. King Auric rose from his throne, his eyes filled with pride and resolve. "Then we shall go, my son," he declared. "We shall do whatever it takes to save our kingdom." With the king's words, the court sprang into action, preparations for the journey beginning at once. Alaric knew that the path ahead would not be easy, but he also knew that the chalice had given him the wisdom to see it through. The fate of Eldamar hung in the balance, and with the golden chalice of wisdom as their guide, they would face whatever trials awaited them. As the day drew to a close, and the first stars appeared in the evening sky, Alaric stood at the castle's highest tower, the chalice in his hands. He gazed out over the land he loved, the rolling hills and deep forests now shadowed by the encroaching darkness. But in his heart, he felt a flicker of hope, a hope that the journey ahead would bring not only redemption for the sorcerer, but a new dawn for Eldamar. And so, with the chalice's revelation guiding his every step, Prince Alaric prepared for the final leg of his quest, knowing that the greatest challenges still lay ahead. The morning sun bathed the castle in a warm golden light as preparations for the journey to the sorcerer's lair began in earnest. The atmosphere buzzed with a mixture of anticipation and trepidation, for all who had heard Prince Alaric's revelation understood the gravity of the task ahead. But before they could embark on their perilous quest, there was something that needed to be done within the castle's very walls, a task that would unlock the final piece of the puzzle. The golden chalice of wisdom had revealed to Alaric that the key to lifting the curse lay not only in confronting the sorcerer, but also in uncovering the secrets hidden deep within the castle. These secrets were remnants of the past, fragments of knowledge that had been buried for centuries, lost to time, and forgotten by all but the most ancient of records. As the castle bustled with activity, Alaric retreated to the quiet solitude of the royal library, a vast chamber filled with shelves that reached from floor to ceiling, each one brimming with dusty tomes and crumbling scrolls. The air was thick with the scent of old parchment, and the light filtered through stained glass windows, casting colourful patterns on the stone floor. The chalice, now resting on a nearby table, seemed to pulse with a gentle glow, guiding Alaric's hand as he searched through the library's vast collection. He knew that somewhere within these walls lay the answers he sought, the clues that would lead him to the hidden chambers and forgotten passages where the castle's most guarded secrets were kept. Alaric began his search with the oldest tomes, their pages brittle and yellowed with age. He carefully turned the pages, reading about the history of Eldamar, the rise and fall of kings, and the legends that had shaped the kingdom. But it wasn't until he came across a particular volume, bound in dark leather and sealed with a golden clasp, that he felt the chalice's light intensify, as if urging him to open it. The book's title, The Chronicles of Eldamar's Hidden Truths, sent a shiver down Alaric's spine. He unfastened the clasp and opened the book, revealing pages filled with intricate drawings and detailed accounts of the kingdom's most ancient mysteries. As he read, his eyes widened in astonishment. The book spoke of secret passages hidden within the castle walls. Passages that had been constructed during the reign of the first kings to protect the kingdom's most valuable treasures. These passages led to hidden chambers where powerful artifacts and forbidden knowledge had been stored away, locked behind riddles and traps designed to keep them safe from those who would misuse them. One passage in particular caught Alaric's attention: a hidden door in the castle's chapel, behind a statue of the first king. According to the book, this door led to a chamber where a powerful artifact had been concealed. An artifact that could either bring great light or devastating darkness to the kingdom. The chalice's glow brightened as Alaric read these words, confirming that this was the key he had been searching for. Without wasting another moment, Alaric closed the book and made his way to the chapel. The castle was quiet now, the preparations for the journey underway, but no one noticed as Alaric slipped into the chapel's cool, shadowy interior. The stone walls were adorned with tapestries depicting scenes of faith and devotion, and the air was filled with the faint scent of incense. Alaric approached the statue of the first king, a towering figure carved from marble, his stern face gazing down at the chapel's altar. The prince's heart raced as he reached out to touch the base of the statue, searching for the mechanism described in the book. His fingers brushed against a small, nearly invisible switch, and with a soft click, the statue began to move. The statue shifted aside, revealing a narrow, spiraling staircase that descended into darkness. Alaric hesitated for only a moment before he took a deep breath and began his descent, the chalice clutched tightly in his hand. The staircase wound down into the depths of the castle, the air growing colder with each step. At the bottom, Alaric found himself in a small, dimly lit chamber. The walls were lined with ancient runes, and in the center of the room stood a pedestal, much like the one that had held the chalice in the labyrinth. Upon this pedestal rested an artifact, a crystal orb glowing faintly with a pale blue light. The chalice's light grew brighter, illuminating the chamber and revealing the true nature of the orb. Alaric approached cautiously, knowing that this was the artifact the book had spoken of. As he reached out to touch it, the chalice pulsed with a warm glow, and a vision filled his mind. He saw the sorcerer, young and full of hope, standing in this very chamber. The orb had been his creation, a powerful tool designed to channel and amplify magical energy. But when his beloved had died, the sorcerer had used the orb to cast the curse upon Eldamar, sealing its fate in a moment of grief and anger. Alaric understood now that the orb was the key to lifting the curse. If he could bring it to the sorcerer and convince him to use it for good, the curse could be undone. But if the sorcerer refused, the orb's power could bring even greater destruction. With this knowledge, Alaric took the orb and began his ascent back to the castle above. The path was clear now. He knew what must be done. The journey to the sorcerer's lair awaited, and with the golden chalice of wisdom and the crystal orb in hand, Alaric felt ready to face the final challenge that lay ahead. The castle's secrets had been uncovered, and with them, the last hope for saving Eldamar. With the crystal orb safely secured and the golden chalice of wisdom guiding him, Prince Alaric prepared to embark on the final leg of his journey. The weight of what lay ahead pressed heavily upon him, but he knew there was no turning back. The fate of Eldamar hung in the balance, and the only way to save his kingdom was to confront the sorcerer who had cast the curse so many years ago. As dawn broke, casting the world in soft hues of pink and gold, Alaric mounted his steed, Bramble, and set forth from the castle. By his side rode a small but determined company, hand-picked for their loyalty and courage. Among them were his eldest brother, Prince Cedric, a seasoned warrior whose sword had defended the kingdom many times before, and Sage Orin, whose wisdom and knowledge of ancient magic were unmatched. Together they journeyed north towards the dark and forbidding forest where the sorcerer's lair was said to be hidden. The road was long and treacherous, winding through dense forests and over rocky hills. As they travelled, the landscape grew darker. The trees twisted and gnarled, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. A chill hung in the air, and a thick fog began to seep from the ground, shrouding their path in an eerie mist. It was as if the very earth resisted their approach, warning them to turn back. But Alaric pressed on, his resolve unshaken. The chalice glowed faintly at his side, a beacon of hope in the encroaching darkness. After several days of travel, they reached the edge of a vast shadowy forest, its towering trees blocking out the sun. This was the Forest of Despair, the final barrier between them and the sorcerer's lair. The company hesitated at the forest's edge, but Alaric urged them forward. "We have come too far to turn back now," he said, his voice steady. "The chalice will guide us through. Stay close and do not let fear take hold." With those words, they entered the forest, the darkness closing in around them like a living thing. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, and the only sound was the soft rustling of the trees as the wind whispered through their branches. Every step felt like a struggle, as if the forest itself sought to hold them back. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the path became less distinct, and the trees more twisted and menacing. The fog thickened, obscuring their vision, and strange, haunting sounds echoed through the woods. Distant wails, eerie laughter, and the faintest whispers that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. At times, the company felt as though they were walking in circles, the forest playing tricks on their minds. But Alaric kept his focus on the chalice, which glowed brighter with each step they took. It led them unerringly through the maze of trees, guiding them towards their destination. Finally, after what felt like hours of wandering, the trees began to thin and the fog lifted, revealing a clearing bathed in a sickly, pale light. In the center of the clearing stood a tall, dark tower, its walls cracked and weathered with age. The tower loomed ominously over the clearing, its windows dark and unwelcoming. This was the sorcerer's lair. Alaric dismounted, his heart pounding in his chest. The time had come to face the sorcerer and lift the curse that had plagued his kingdom for so long. With the crystal orb in one hand and the chalice in the other, he approached the tower, his companions close behind. As they neared the entrance, the massive wooden doors creaked open on their own, as if inviting them inside. The air grew colder, and a sense of foreboding settled over the company. Alaric took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead, and stepped through the threshold. Inside, the tower was dark and oppressive, the air thick with the scent of old magic. The walls were lined with ancient tapestries depicting scenes of sorrow and loss, their colors faded and dull. A spiral staircase wound up into the darkness, leading to the sorcerer's chamber at the top. With each step they took, the atmosphere grew heavier, as if the tower itself resisted their presence. Strange shadows flitted across the walls, and the air crackled with a faint, otherworldly energy. But Alaric pressed on, his determination unwavering. The chalice continued to glow, its light guiding them upwards. Finally, they reached the top of the staircase and found themselves standing before a heavy wooden door. The air was so thick with tension that it was difficult to breathe. Alaric raised a hand to knock, but before he could, the door swung open on its own, revealing a dimly lit chamber. Inside, seated upon a throne of stone, was the sorcerer. His hair was long and white, his face gaunt and lined with age, and his eyes, once bright with the light of magic, were now dull and clouded with sorrow. The years had not been kind to him, and the weight of his grief was palpable in the air. The sorcerer looked up as Alaric entered, his gaze weary but sharp. "You have come at last," he said, his voice a rasping whisper. "I have been waiting." Alaric stepped forward, his voice steady but filled with compassion. "I have come to lift the curse, to bring peace to Eldamar, and to offer you the redemption that you seek. The chalice has shown me the way, and the orb you created holds the power to undo the wrongs of the past." The sorcerer's eyes flickered with a spark of something hope, perhaps, or the memory of a time long gone. "Redemption," he murmured, as if tasting the word. After all these years, you offer me redemption? Alaric nodded, holding out the crystal orb. It is not too late. The chalice has revealed the truth of your sorrow, and it is through forgiveness and understanding that we may lift the curse and restore the kingdom. The sorcerer's gaze lingered on the orb, the light within it reflecting in his eyes. The chamber grew still, the air thick with anticipation as the moment of decision hung in the balance. Would the sorcerer accept the offer of redemption, or would the darkness that had consumed him for so long prevail? The fate of Eldamar rested on the answer. The chamber was silent, the tension palpable as Prince Alaric held out the crystal orb to the sorcerer. The old man's hand trembled as he reached for it, his gaunt fingers hovering just above the glowing surface. Time seemed to stand still, the air heavy with the weight of countless years of sorrow and regret. The sorcerer's eyes, once dull and clouded, now shimmered with a mix of emotions: grief, hope, and the faintest glimmer of redemption. He had spent so long in darkness, his heart consumed by the pain of his loss, that the offer of forgiveness seemed almost too distant to grasp. Yet the chalice's light, warm and steady, reached out to him, offering a chance to undo the wrongs of the past. "I have lived in this darkness for so long," the sorcerer murmured, his voice wavering with age and sorrow. "My heart has been weighed down by anger, by grief. The curse I cast upon Eldamar was born of a moment of despair, a moment that has haunted me ever since." Alaric listened, his heart aching with compassion for the sorcerer who had once been a friend to his ancestors. "The chalice has shown me your pain," he said softly. "It has revealed the loss that drove you to cast the curse. But it has also shown me that the curse can be lifted, that your heart can find peace once more." The sorcerer's gaze drifted to the crystal orb, the light within it swirling like a tempest. "Peace," he whispered, the word barely audible. "Do I even deserve such a gift after all I have done?" Alaric stepped closer, his voice filled with quiet strength. "You do. The chalice has given me the wisdom to see that redemption is not about erasing the past, but about making amends for it. The power to lift the curse lies within you, and with it, the power to heal, not just the kingdom, but your own heart as well." For a long moment, the sorcerer was silent, his eyes fixed on the orb. Then, with a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of centuries, he reached out and took the orb in his hands. The light within it flared brightly, casting the chamber in a brilliant glow. The sorcerer gasped as the orb's magic flowed through him, its warmth spreading through his withered body, renewing his strength and filling his heart with a sense of peace he had not felt in decades. But as the light began to fade, a final challenge emerged, a riddle, the last test of the sorcerer's resolve. The orb, now glowing with a steady blue light, spoke to him in a voice that seemed to come from the depths of the earth itself. I am the key to both joy and sorrow, to victory and defeat. I am the choice that shapes destiny, the path that leads to both ruin and salvation. What am I? The sorcerer's brow furrowed as he pondered the riddle, the weight of its meaning pressing down upon him. He understood now that this was the final test, the ultimate question that would determine the fate of Eldamar. The answer was not something tangible, but something deeply personal, something that had guided his every action, every decision. He closed his eyes, his mind drifting back through the years to the moment when he had lost everything and to the choice he had made in his grief. It was then that the answer became clear to him, the truth that had been hidden in his heart all along. Regret, the sorcerer whispered, his voice filled with a deep, aching sadness. The answer is regret. The moment the words left his lips, the orb's light flared once more, then began to fade, its power transferring to the sorcerer. The air in the chamber seemed to lighten, as if a great burden had been lifted. The sorcerer's eyes filled with tears, his heart overwhelmed by the realization that he had been given a second chance, a chance to undo the wrongs of the past and to set things right. Alaric watched as the sorcerer, his hands trembling, placed the orb on the ground and knelt before it. He bowed his head, and in a voice choked with emotion, he spoke the words that would lift the curse. By the power of the magic that binds this land, by the sorrow and regret that have plagued my heart, I release this curse and offer my forgiveness to those who wronged me. May the light of wisdom guide us all, and may Eldamar be restored to its former glory. As the final word was spoken, the orb shattered into 1,000 pieces, each fragment dissolving into light. The light spread throughout the chamber, filling every corner with a warmth and brilliance that chased away the shadows and darkness. The very walls seemed to hum with energy as the curse was lifted, the ancient magic unraveling and releasing its hold on the land. The sorcerer remained kneeling, tears streaming down his face as the burden of centuries was finally lifted from his soul. He looked up at Alaric, his eyes filled with gratitude and peace. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice filled with sincerity. "You have given me the gift of redemption, and with it, the chance to right my wrongs." Alaric smiled, the chalice's light glowing warmly in his hands. "It is you who have lifted the curse and saved the kingdom. Your heart is free, and Eldamar will flourish once more." As the light slowly faded from the chamber, the sorcerer rose to his feet, a renewed strength in his body and a peace in his heart. The final riddle had been answered, and with it, the curse that had plagued Eldamar for so long had been broken. The journey was nearing its end, but the story of the golden chalice of wisdom, of forgiveness and redemption, would live on in the hearts of all who had witnessed its power.